All right. Hello, my friends. Sherry Gabriel here. I have a very special guest today. He comes to us all the way from the UK. He has a brilliant mind, and you will understand how that comes to life and what that is when he starts talking and telling us his story. His name is Jonathan Macdonald, and we haven't met personally, physically, I should say, but we have been collaborating and working together on a few projects in the last 2 years. So he's one of my best friends, dear friends, and all because of the pandemic that got us together through this wonder of technology and Zoom. And, you know, I'm a master networker and I love to meet people. And Jonathan has been an incredible person that I got to meet and build a relationship with, where we're both allowing each other and giving each other the stage to grow and to express ourselves. And this is what I love so much about Jonathan, because he's so expressive. So Jonathan, the CEO of Potency.World, I am going to give you the stage now, because I want to start by you telling us a little bit about yourself, because many of my listeners don't know you, and I really want them to get a good full picture of who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about. So welcome, Jonathan.
Blimey, Shiri. So, hi there from the land of tea and crumpets. That's a pretty big build up there. I feel everything after this point is going to be deflation, but there you go. Who am I? I'm Jonathan. I'm 51 years old. I'm mixed race, adopted into a white British family. I am a high school dropout. I'm a motorcycle and car enthusiast. I listen to heavy metal, and Shira's going to play a song at the end of this interview, which I chose as Iron Maiden, and that's me in a nutshell.
That is a. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and mad,
and
but I think that goes without saying.
It does. And guys, I'm going to invite you to connect with Jonathan, because that is a nutshell. I mean, there's so much more to you, Jonathan. And let's dive right into it. And I'm going to start with the first question that I have for you, which is the fact, and I know this about you, you're a trailblazer when it comes to education, and you really are looking to change education. So you're creating this new education design. Tell me more about that, please.
Okay, so there was a book published in 1964. There's a lot of backstory as to why I was reading this, but I did some experimentation in the primary education sector over the course of 7.5 years, following a series of strokes I'd had. And one of the books that I was put onto about children and their abilities was a book called Pygmalion in the Classroom, written in 1964, a full 40 years before Carol Dweck started researching growth mindset. And essentially, this book, Pygmalion in the Classroom, set up the experiment. And this book is written by 2 PhDs. It was the most turgid, boring read of my life, but the nugget of information at the end made it all worth it. And the information basically is this. They took a group of children, a class full of children, and gave them to a teacher. You know, you get your new teacher for the year, you get introduced to them. And the experimenter said, oh yeah, by the way, these 6, they're special, they're gifted, yeah, but you can't ever speak to them about it, can't give them any extra work, just treat them like everyone else, just so you know. And then a year later, when tested by a separate teacher, the children who were believed to be gifted produced gifted results. And that is the first evidence that the adult beliefs affect the child's actual results. Now, that's written in 1964. So why is it in 2020 we still have an education system So they started talking about growth mindset, going, oh, yes, the children need to learn about growth mindset. Oh, it's all about how you can grow, without the slightest realization that the entire edifice on which education is built is fixed mindset. It is testing. It is the exact antithesis of growth mindset. And so the phrase, you can't see the wood for the trees, plagues humanity, and it plagues all systems because we are the creations of those systems, and we can never get out of them because we're in and a part of them. So I came into education by luck. I had a series of strokes. I understood intuitively from NLP training I'd had that beliefs were really important. And I have an extra advantage in that my dyslexic brain plays around with interpretations, representations, which are they're not about what you see per se, but they're about all the different ways of slicing and dicing and representing the information. And the one thing I noticed really strongly is children, when they're happy and laughing and running and playing around the playground, they glow. They glow. But actual light to me, and then the adults would shout at them or whistle or blow the bell or sit down, stop playing, and they go, I'm like, I know nothing about education, but why do you turn all the lights out? But that's a perceptual creation of mine. So the reason for a new design is that, and it's so funny, the film Everything Everywhere All at Once that won the Oscars. Yeah.
All the Oscars.
So, yeah. So I've been working on this for the last really 15 years. And it's all about everything, everywhere, all at once. So the education design, if you speak to most adults and you say, do you remember what you learned in high school? They'll go, no, I crammed for it the night before, passed the tests, forgot it. Useless. So currently education takes 7 years of a young person's life and squanders it on remembering and repeating back in an ever closer circle and an echo chamber. And while all the neuroplasticity is available in the young mind, to waste that on self-referential self-praise in the nature of exam results, it's criminal. And what's even more criminal is that there's this whole look, our whole society now is based on indebting the children, the children's children, and the children's children's children. And so that no person in the future will ever have any assets, because we go, oh yeah, go to a good primary school, get into a good secondary school, get good high school grades, then go to a good university, get to a good university, come out of that, then you get a better job or get an MBA or get a PhD. You're a professor. There are people coming out with MBAs, with masters, working in Amazon warehouses.
100%.
So education does not now serve its alumni. So that's why it has to be a complete and utter change. So essentially, you speak to adults, ask them, what were the 10 or 20 things you wish you'd learned in school? And most adults will tell you similar things. Relationship advice, mortgage and financial advice. Self defense and self-awareness, situational awareness, skills to help with mental
leadership,
entrepreneurship,
collaboration,
creativity, all these sorts of things. And so there's about 20% of this design, which is allowing the students to learn, not be taught. There is no teaching. What there is learning, because you do not teach a mindfulness lesson. You practice mindfulness repeatedly, day after day after day after day after day. And by the end of one academic year, that person is going to be so chilled, nothing will faze them. So you have all that, that's fabulous. But then 80% of the time, and this is for girls between 11 and 18, so high school, throw it away. Secondary school, throw it away. Not interested, waste of time. There's going to be 10,000 girl-only academies with girls from 11 to 18. There's going to be an internal social...
Jonathan, this is what you want to build. Yes?
Yes.
I'm just clarifying this. This is what you want to build.
This is the cunning plan. Inside the academies, which will be residential, there's going to be a social media and broadcast media company staffed by the girls. Because basically, the reason that abortion rights can be taken away from an entire continent of women on the whims of, I can only think that, I guess that people that have this faith, strong faith that makes them think they are, doing the Lord's work. I can't speak to that. All I can speak to is that I believe in equality, and at the very least, a woman has a right over her own body. So that's disgraceful. And the problem with that is that we're all conditioned. So women voted against their own rights. In the UK, half the population voted against its own self-interest. In America, same thing. So basically, that is a problem created by hierarchies in education and leagues of competition, which creates this idea that we are in battle with each other. There's the idea of scarcity. So you do your 20% interesting stuff, 80% tell me what you want to do, how you want to change the world, who you want to help, 11-year-old girl. Let me help you do that. And then the internal social media, rather than being Instagram or Facebook, it will be about projects and interests and collaborations and groups and discussion boards. And basically we'll go, hey, do what you want and we'll help you do that. And not only will we help you do that, we'll facilitate you doing that and pay for all the stuff to make you do that and grant patents for the inventions you come up with. And not only that, I was writing the business plan the other day, any intellectual property that the girls make up, because children will invent at a rate that adult, honestly, it's going to blow your mind. And all of the intellectual property they will keep. This is not a project in burdening these children with debts. It is about allowing their brains to expand, entirely paid for. All the residential, all the food, everything. I'm taking
Jonathan, and this is a great idea. My question for you is, why are you focusing only on girls?
Basically, I'm a feminist. I had a very strong, but not strong in a brutish way, strong in a hugely compassionate and hilarious and just my mum and my aunt we used to laugh, and you know when you laugh so much that you're not actually laughing, you're shaking and going red. Yeah, that was her all the time. And she'd find strays in public and people that were lost, and she'd go up to them and speak to them and engage with people. And that was what I saw growing up. So for me, the idea that a woman in the US earns 70 cents on the dollar, in the UK, 70p on the pound for a comparable work for a man. The fact that it was only in 2021 that what's called the tampon tax, so taxing sanitary products in the UK, that was only lifted 2 years ago because they were a luxury item. This is never going to change unless we change the whole thing. So I've forgotten your question. Have I answered it?
Well, a little bit
Why
more.
girls?
Why?
Yes.
Why girls? Why girls?
So when I was volunteering as in primary school, primary age girls are fantastic. So number one, we know they are definitely statistically better at maths, science, English, and anything they're interested. Basically, they outperform boys on every test variable. They are as happy to get bruised up and tumbled down and what have you as pretty much any boy would want to. And what's different is that, and it's because we condition girls this way, but they are immensely engaging and thoughtful and wanting to make a difference in a way that boys don't care. They play football, they run around, they tell fart jokes, whatever it is. Girls are like, I didn't, okay. And you can see them cognate there, because I've got a physical injury that's quite obvious. And so I was in these schools and the girls would ask me about it and they would show compassion. And so girls at below 11, 10, basically when puberty kicks in, but girls in primary school are awesome in every single way. And more so in the way in which they want to change the world and create things that are new, more than boys. Boys, obviously, men have a serious load of work to do because we're killing and raping and abusing you and your sisters. And it's a disgrace, disgust. Every single strata of our society, from the church to the business person, there's no honor. This facade we have of a society that's basically okay. We're sitting here chatting, but today 10 women will get killed in the UK by their living partner. So the male problem is vast. But what
here's a question for you, Jonathan, because this is as we're talking about this.
I do ramble.
No, it's fun. That's what I like about you. Let's ramble together. So don't you think maybe that this new way of education could be even that much powerful if you do it on boys, right? Boys, young men, to start helping, right? How some men, because we cannot generalize, obviously, but how some men treat women or see women, and to start creating that
equality. Significant proportion.
Okay, so why not boys?
Yeah, so I think that's a really brilliant question, and I would invite. So I see the light snuffed out in girls, and I have a plan for how to change that. I know exactly what I'm going to do. A mother, a woman, will see something in the way she raised her son and be able to apply maybe this mindset to boys, because certainly boys are pitted against each other at a young age, and it does give us a lackadaisical attitude with the truth and consequences of our behaviors, and then we kill ourselves quite severely between about 45 and 50 as your testosterone level drops.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said for boys, but here's why I'm starting with girls. Basically, except for rape, women are the creators of life. So girls, young ladies today that go out are measuring themselves against a tiny, really concentrated stream of vitriol, Botox lips, teenagers having Botox in their foreheads, false eyelashes. I mean, false lashes at the end of the world, but boob enlargements, fake backsides, this, that, the other, caked in makeup so that they literally can't see their skin. They're a mannequin. And it's because they feel this is the only way they'll be accepted, because that is the message coming through from reality TV to social media to everything you want to, and in between. So a woman outside in this world has very little chance of ever seeing herself represented fairly with the dream she had when she was 10. Almost no chance of seeing that. So only by taking these 500,000 girls over 10 years and exposing them, which will create a different, and when I say different, I mean vastly better cognitive functionality of the brain. They will be every day practiced in all these things I talked about, every day doing collaborations, creating, trying and failing, picking themselves up, being run through self-defense training, all this sort of stuff. And they will come out at 18 better than, and I know you're high up in the academic world. I don't mean this to it's not a slight on you at all, but even PhD level barely pushes the circle, the little nudge. There's a picture of a circle with a little nudge out, and they go, "Oh, that's PhD level. Everything in the circle is education." And so these girls will be able to go straight into, and this is the reason why a company needs to invest straight into leadership roles within a company. And by virtue of the fact that they are different, they will require that the men that they choose to procreate with are different too, because they won't accept the things that the girls we continually beat down and abuse. And oh God, it's just horrifying. So, and that's how you create a evolutionary advantage to the behavior. And we'll get onto the business transformation bit in a second. But because this is linked to business transformation, it shunts everything along in one massive thing and therefore moves the needle. And because of that, it eliminates the need to justify girls' education in the way that it's, oh, well, you only need to learn this if you're going to be a housewife or a mother or what have you. And that's kind of like the very patriarchal message that comes out of, pretty much all cultures. I used to think we were civilized in what we would largely call the West, but I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah.
And it scales to much worse in developing countries.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there is, so I don't know if you remember this, but I have 3 boys and a girl, right? And I remember when my third boy was born, and I was, and I've told him this, it's not a secret, but I said, I was a little bit sad that he wasn't a girl. You want a girl, right? As a mom, as a woman, it's like, a girl. 3 boys. And I remember driving with my husband, and I said to him, I was kind of sad. I said, I would have loved a girl so I can instill in her all the values that I have as a woman, right? And to be able to change the world, because the world needs change still. Let's not kid ourselves, right? And my husband very wisely said to me, he said, well, maybe you will have a better impact on this world if you instill those values in your boys, right? Very wise. And that, and absolutely, and I got my girl after, you know, and the values, because it's true. And this is why I asked you that question about the boys, right? Taking this same idea, and it's fantastic what you're doing and giving this to the girls. Eventually, I'm going to invite you to think about the boys as well. And that another reason that I'm passionate about the boys is because we want to create so much change for women, right? And through education is the right way to do it. Education is the right way to make any change, right? When we think of even extremist groups, they're creating the change they want to create. Bad, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm not even talking about good, through education. So absolutely creating change through education is the way to go. Think about eventually including boys. I find, and this is a conversation that I have, that because we want to help women so much, we are forgetting the boys. We are in our society, especially Western society, we tend to be we're forgetting the boys. We're alienating them. Sometimes we're even making them seem as the bad boys, just generalizing, right? So again, that's my personal view, and we can talk so much more about
do.
that.
I mean, listen, and you know, I'm sure that you have instilled in your boys values that are maybe some are aligned with what I've been talking about. But I think the problem is that it's become popular to minimize the real scale of the problem. So, scale of the problem. If you look in the UK, the BBC's reported on this on 4 or 5 occasions that I've posted. A girl of 11 in high school is getting asked on average 10 times a night by boys for nude photos. 10 times a night. And that's in a class of 30 children. So how many of the boys is that? 2/3.
Yeah.
And it's not because people are evil, but it is because we are sexual creatures, and it is a construct. The family is a construct that it's only been around for a couple 100 years, not even that. And when people were more religious, and I'm not religious, but I know you are, when people were more observant of religion, marriages stayed together. But then we find that many of those marriages were based on both the man and the woman liking their own gender, for example, but being forced to stay in a marriage. So yeah, I acknowledge that boys need help, but until we at least bring up from the very pit of the sewer girls' actual influence in the world.
Yes.
So yes, after change begins in substantive way, then for sure, because really the education design is what it's about. And so yes, boys and girls, mixed campuses.
Yeah.
From 11.
So
that. Exactly the same idea.
Yeah.
But you have to first produce a change.
100%. And I think that the significant change, to your point, will come through the girls. Absolutely. The girls and then the young women. And talk to us about this business transformation.
So basically, I started off with this plan and I thought, right, the last time I tried to do this, it was down to me delivering sessions to a class of children at a time. And I am not that physically well. I could at best do 1 class a day. So that was the limiting factor. on my previous attempt to change the world, which, like we said, like we agree, is through education. That was in volunteering in primary. So thinking about how and exactly what ways, or what were the 3 primary ways I failed in that iteration, fed into the plan for this iteration. So the scope of 500,000 girls seemed to me to be a good size, because you read about all sorts of good intended, this and training course that, and 170 and 500 and 2,000 girls and whatever it is. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of efforts, but none that make the national news. So I thought, right, okay, well, the only way you're going to make national news is if you actually make it a financial phenomenon. So if you look at businesses, they've been running a model of business which I liken to the Industrial Revolution model. Basically, humans became the spinning jennies and the cogs, and the bosses ran their humans as fast as they could. And then they gave them smartphones so they could reach them 24 hours a day. And then they gave them Slack and WhatsApp so that if they didn't get their email, they got an alert. And then they gave them not enough resources, or too few resources for the work that's required. And then they didn't give them the training to be able to deal with customers they want to. And then people got burnt out. But it didn't matter. You just throw that one away, put in a new one. As we discussed before, MBAs coming out, can't get jobs. So that's the model they were running. And everyone was hiding their mental ill health. Then COVID came along and everyone went, as an existential moment, because we didn't know in that first year, 18 months, it looked like it was going to keep on getting worse. So that was a real moment. And the fact that, so as a one example, there's a thing called the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard of that?
I have, yes.
So it is essentially the idea that brains can only maintain attention for a period between 10 and 40 minutes. So the Pomodoro, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. So we know that after 40 minutes, you start to lose focus. But people sit and work through lunch, eating their meal at their desk because. So the results that a company's getting on that one thing are pitiful in comparison to what I could get any company. I could walk into any company in any sphere and immediately triple their profits and their revenues. So another one, this is 2 of 87 things I know how to change. The second thing. So, when you feel thirsty in your mouth, by that point, you're usually about 2% dehydrated. A 2% dehydration corresponds to a 20% deficit in cognition. So short-term memory, long-term memory, processing speed, problem-solving abilities. So you can get smart rings, which are linked to smart bottles that monitor your signs and prompt you to drink water. So a company that really wants to change the results they get massively doesn't do piecemeal bits and bobs or get a facilitator or a trainer in. No, they invest what's going to be, I think, about 20 billion US dollars over 15 years to pay for these academies and to pay for my team to come into their companies around the world and facilitate the change at every level of the organization, all at the same time, so that by the end of the first month, you won't recognize the vivaciousness and exuberance and engagement you get out of people just because they've had enough sleep. So that's business transformation. You, Mr. Business Person, you pay £20 billion for this project. For that £20 billion, we'll change your business metrics so you get your £20 billion back before we even give you the first of our alumni, because we start working while we're building the academies. So already you've got your return on investment. Then you've got the first opportunity. You don't have the right to these girls, nor do you have the right to their intellectual property. You have the opportunity to offer 18-year-old girls quick start leadership programs to take them into leadership roles and change the dynamics of teams. So another one thing, Harvard Business Review, mixed teams produce 40% more revenue or analogous result. Just mixed teams. It's so easy. I find it offensive that no one else has done it.
Amazing. So you've thought through the, not just the education part of it, but education leading into the corporate world, in this case, for these women, young women, to change and to transform, right, this business, this corporation, and make them even more profitable than they ever thought because of what they bring, the intellectual property that is theirs, that they bring with them to come in as young leaders and transform into executives and leaders within that company.
Absolutely. And, you know, the company will have the opportunity to put their promotional materials in the materials that Potency.World Broadcasting show. So, you know, they'll feature this division and that division and come and work for us and blah, 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 blah. They'll have that opportunity to communicate, but the girls will understand the advantage they've been given in the world and are likely to, whatever field they go into, be it the media, politics, medicine, construction, whatever it is, they're likely to have that company that's been their companion for 7 years of their lives. They're likely to think quite highly of them and will, and I'm not saying this is what you would invest for, but they would lobby for you by virtue of their belief in your company and what you've done for them. And that's another thing that, see, this is, it's just such a broken system. So you've got these lobbyists spending billions of dollars and all these funds from secret brothers and this and it's horrific and bipartisan, just totally sullen. Whereas if you look at Warren Buffett, so Warren Buffett took the view and has taken the view throughout his life, he's interested in the long-term success of the companies he invests in. He's not interested in trading or making a profit. He takes the long-term view. Everyone takes the short-term view, and it is to our detriment as we can see the world collapsing in on itself. So, yeah. Can't remember
what do you think, and this is going to be my last question for you.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think you should.
What do you think is going to be or is the biggest hurdle, especially to, as you take these young women and transition them into the workplace, into these corporations? What is going to be the biggest hurdle that you foresee to make this happen?
So the biggest hurdle that would otherwise exist, but for my cunning plan, would be that the misogyny and sexism and physical assault and sexual harassment at work and all sorts of other things that women face. And, you know, I'm 51. When I was first in the office space in the 80s, late 80s, 89, 89, 90, smacking a girl on her backside at the office was everyday behavior. Now, I find it abhorrent now, but that's the culture that was. So the hurdle would have been that the companies would have remained as they had been. So we'd have this transformation going on, but there'd still be the same structures and hierarchies and power in place. So what you need to do with human brains, I nearly said humans, but I'm one of you. What you need to do with human brains
Are
is,
you? I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
Are you?
You need to change what they perceive on a continual basis, day after day after day after day after day after day, until it becomes the confirmed bias. It becomes the new norm. So what I'm doing while I'm building this idea is connecting with thousands and thousands of women, yoga teachers, meditators, personal trainers, nutritionists, coaches, facilitators, blah, 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 because every single one of the agents conducting this business transformation will be a woman, so that men associate their improved working environment with female leadership. Come on. Yeah. And that's
Love
the
it.
good.
Love
Yeah.
it.
So that would be going on. And so the trouble
Okay.
is that the only problem I have is I am so mad, and it's such a, I think it's slightly offensive. I have paid myself, or will be paying myself, a large but not huge salary, and I've never done it before, and I've never run an education department before, and so I'll probably get laughed out of 99 out of 100 rooms. I've got no children, I haven't got a business, I've got no skin in the game. I'm doing this for the species as my gift to it.
Right. And, you know, the trick is to be successful is to surround with people that are experts in what you're doing, right?
Yes.
You might not have all the experience and expertise. You have the idea, you have that vision, and you're so passionate about it. Now it's finding the right people with the right expertise and the money, obviously, to make this happen.
Yeah.
And like I said, you're there already. I mean, the way you talk about this, Jonathan, is as if it was already happening, which is great, right? I mean, Napoleon Hill, just, you know,
yeah.
he's the man talking about this, right, all the time. So, and you're all about transformation. You're all about transformation. I know that the world is in a much better place than it was in the 80s. The corporations are in a much better place. You have laws in place, right? I personally, in my days in the corporate world, I didn't feel discriminated. I really didn't. Thank God. Yes, it still exists. There's still a lot of room for transformation and for helping young girls. Definitely the whole perception of how they see themselves and that image, that self-image, physically, psychologically, that's still around. It's been around for years. That has not changed. The media has not changed it. As much as they try to, and these big companies, it's absolutely still there because we see it. Social media just, if we were moving forward a little bit, I think social media just brought us, 50 years backwards. And hey, we just saw that law pass, and we're not going to get into that in the US, right? They brought us back 50 years. Not going to get into politics. Obviously, we're not going to talk about that.
We're
You
not going to
alluded
talk
to
about
that.
it. It's going to be it'll be another 50 years before it changes.
You know what? I hope not. I really hope not. And history is crazy how it happens. I mean, we don't learn as human beings from history, right?
Nope.
In any case, I obviously I want to help you, and I want to give you the stage now to tell everybody, Jonathan, where they can reach you. So give us your coordinates. If people want to get in touch with you, learn more about what you're trying to do, help you out, where can they reach you? What's the best way?
That'd be fantastic. Anyone that's interested in my mad babblings can go to the website Potency.World. That is our name and our URL. And on the contact us tab, there's my picture and the email thing underneath, and they can email me directly from that. And if they're on LinkedIn, then Potency.World is the company page, and I'm Jonathan Macdonald, but my URL says Potency-World, so look for the beard. I probably would.
Beautiful. And we're going to have your coordinates on the description on the podcast so everybody can get in touch with you. Jonathan, thank you so much. I think the world needs more mad men like you. And there's a perfect fit to my podcast, Call Me Crazy, because I can call you crazy. You call yourself crazy.
Excellent.
Yes. Well, you call yourself mad because you're British, but I call myself crazy.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy, definitely.
Exactly. It's great, isn't it? Jonathan, thank you so much. Best of luck with this. I love you dearly for everything that you're doing and everything that you're giving this world. Thank you so much for being my guest. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.